the distance from production location to administration. But of course, we also have to consider that we do have to build freezer farms. This is something that is being done in developed countries, and that is something that is important to us if we want to be able to roll out this vaccine successfully. There are many candidates now, as mentioned as well previously, and all of them require different temperatures. But of course, we will have to cater for the different temperature requirements. So this infrastructure would have to be interoperable, and it has to be throughout the whole supply chain. At the moment, at the airport, for example, we have to fit them with receiving these kind of vaccines on a large scale as well.
So thank you very much, sir. You're telling us that we need to build sub-zero infrastructure from the time it arrives at the airport, and we need a facility at the airport, sub-zero storage facility, as well as sub-zero transportation to deliver them for eventual vaccination. Is that correct?
That's correct. And we as a company are working on it. And in fact, we are looking to help our industry partners get on board as well. So we do have the foundation once the vaccine does roll out in the months ahead. So we are working on that. At the moment, our company is also very heavily involved in saliva testing and breath-based testing. So we're trying to stay ahead of the curve. We're trying to meet the need of the pandemic to make sure we bring all the technological solutions on time. And especially for this distribution of the vaccine at this kind of temperature, we are heavily looking into it. And we do hope we will have good news and a good model and a broad network to do this, along with the government units as well as our local industry partners.
Dr. Domingo said that in case tomorrow, China FDA approves for emergency use a vaccine, it will take 40 to 65 days to approve it also here in the Philippines. 40 to 65 days, is that enough time for the industry, the private sector and government to build this infrastructure for the vaccine?
Yes, so this, I think what would happen is it would be a progressive approach whereby we would be having certain existing capacity that we have that we can tap on. And then from there on out, we can prioritize firstly on the people that need it the most. And then we can grow the administration rate after that in terms of how many doses are being given. So it will be a step-by-step approach. But at the moment, I believe there isn't enough capacity to go full scale once the vaccine is approved. So we're looking at a timeline of the first quarter of next year for the industry to catch up and come together and build this full supply chain for cold storage and cold chain.
Sir, we hope to invite you again, and perhaps in the next time, if we could ask you to do like a flow chart of sort so that the people will know the different steps now required in order to bring the vaccine to the people. Thank you very much. Please join us for our open
Thank
forum.
you so much.
Now we call on Yusek Rocky now for our open forum, please.
Yes, good afternoon, Secretary Roque. Question from Laila Salaveria of Inquirer. Why was there a need to issue the memo to DOJ to investigate allegations of corruption in the entire government when there is already the Office of the Ombudsman and the PACC?
Well, I guess it's the President emphasizing that in the remaining 2 years of his term, he will give utmost priority to the fight against corruption. And of course, there is no prohibition, so it is allowed. And whether we like it or not, even if there is an Office of the Ombudsman, the biggest public prosecutor is still under the Department of Justice, because the number of prosecutors that we have under the DOJ are simply probably 20 times more than the lawyers that they have at the Office of the Ombudsman.
Second question, what can the DOJ do that the other anti-corruption agencies cannot do?
Yun nga po, mas marami tayong piskal na po pwede mag-imbestiga. At aasistihan po ang ating mga piskal ng kapulisan at ng NBI at ng yung ating opisino laban sa red tape, yung ating PA, yung Presidential Anti-Graft Commission. So marami pong aasiste at marami pong mga piskal na po pwede mag-conduct ng investigation kung ikukumpira po natin sa limitadong personnel ng Office of the Ombudsman.
Is the President's directive to the DOJ a reflection of his lack of satisfaction with the efforts of other agencies that are supposed to address corruption?
Hindi naman po siguro. Gusto lang talaga niya maiwang legacy na lininis niya ang gobyerno sa natitirang panahon ng kanyang termino.
Thank you, Secretary.
Thank you, Yusek. Punta tayo kay Joyce Balancho, please.
Yes, Secretary. Doon po sa utos ni Pangulong Duterte to investigate DPWH corruption, what is his timeline for this? Meron po ba siyang binigay na definite deadline to the mega task force that you mentioned para po magbigay ng report kay Pangulong Duterte?
Yesterday po was the deadline. He wants it as soon as possible.
Deadline po, sir, ng resulta ng investigation?
That's what I'm saying. I'm speaking figuratively, of course. He wants it done yesterday, which means it has to be done at the soonest time possible. He wants to see them behind bars para magsilbi pong halimbawa na mabawasan nga ang korupsyon dyan sa mga ahensya gaya ng DPWH, Customs at iba pa.
Alright, sir, si President Duterte, all praises kay DPWH Secretary Mark Villar. Will he still be covered dito sa investigation ng DPWH kahit po nagpapahayag ng kumpiyansa ang Pangulo sa kanya?
Well, wala pong dahilan para magduda sa integridad si Presidente kay Secretary Villar, a view which I share and everyone in the cabinet shared. Alam mo, unfortunately talaga, may kinalaman din talaga yung abilidad ng tao para matukso ng korupsyon. Pero kung ganitong kayaman naman kasi yung secretary at alam natin na very well educated in the best universities in the world, and meron ding untainted record as a public servant, having served as congressman also of Las Piñas, talaga naman pong he is beyond doubt, no? And is certainly above corruption in DPWH. So, ganyan po katindi ang tiwala ni Presidente, ang tiwala ko, at tiwala ng ibang gabinete kay Secretary Mark Villar.
So just to be categorical about it, hindi na po siya sasakupin ng investigation ng Mega Task Force?
Well, the President, of course, will leave it to the task force, pero ang opinion po ni Presidente ay malinaw, wala po namang bahid ng kahit anong korupsyon si Secretary Villar, which we all share in the Cabinet.
Sir, dun sa PhilHealth, nabanggit ni Pangulo, hindi na niya bubuwagin, no? Yung PhilHealth. Does this mean na siya'y kontento na sa performance ni bagong PhilHealth President Dan Tigueran sa paglilinis sa korupsyon?
Let's just say, inaantay pa po niya yung mga kasong isasampa pa sa iba pang mga personnel at officials ng PhilHealth, no? Pero kumpiyansa po siya na dahil maraming ang nag-resign na at maraming na suspend na, meron ng malaking pagbabago dyan sa PhilHealth. Malaki na po nagawa natin sa paglinis ng PhilHealth. Pagpapatuloy na lang po yan.
Last na lang po for me, Secretary. Maliban po dun sa recommendations na Metro Manila mayors, what were the other considerations ng IATF at ni Pangulong Duterte to still place Metro Manila under GCQ until end of November?
Well, malinaw po yan, no? Meron tayong daily attack rate, meron tayong 2-week average attack rate, meron tayong critical hospital utilization rate. Lahat po yan ay kinonsidera, pati ang mga social at economic factors. Sa Huwebes po or sa Lunes, depending on availability po of USEC ng DOH who is in charge of classification, USEC David, humingi po ako ng permiso at ginarant naman ako ng permiso ng IATF na ipipresenta po sa taong bayan itong mga datos na pinagbasihan po ng Interagency Task Force nang maintindihan naman po ng mga tao. Unang-una, nakabase po tayo sa siyensya at ito po ay a whole of nation approach. Hindi lang po 10 dalubhasa. Siguro po hindi bababa sa 100 dalubhasa ang nagtutulong-tulong para magbigay itong rekomendasyon nito at ipakita sa inyo na hindi po umaasa ang gobyerno ni Presidente Duterte sa kahit sinong ibang mga dalubhasa para gumawa ng ganitong desisyon. So mabuting balita po yan, pinayagan ako ng IATF na i-share po ang datos natin sa publiko na naging basihan ng rekomendasyon kay Presidente, pero gagawin po natin ito matapos po magdesisyon ng ating Presidente.
Thank you, Secretary.
Thank you, Joyce. Punta na tayo kay Yusek Rocky, please.
Secretary, question from Sam Edenilla of Business Mirror. Ang una niyang tanong, na-approve na po kaya ni President Duterte ang and release of budget release for Bayanihan 2 for at least 4 agencies? If no, kailan daw po ito marirelease?
Nako, mas mabuti pong ginawa ni Presidente. Binigyan niya po ng delegated authority si DBM Secretary Avisado para mag-approve na ng release. So hindi na po yan dadaan sa Office of the Executive Secretary. Alinsunod po dito, meron pong 7 departamento na marilisan ng pondo ngayon galing sa Bayanihan 2. Ito po ang DTI, 100 million for shared service facilities. Para sa Balik Probinsya Bagong Pag-asa Program, ang NDRRMF 5 billion for augmentation of the NDRRMM Fund, ang DOLE 8 billion para sa Adjustment Measures Program and tulong panghanap buhay para sa ating displaced and disadvantaged workers, DSWD 6 billion for assistance to individuals in crisis situation and sustainable livelihood program, Department of Agriculture, 11.632 billion for initial submission for plant program. DOH, 20.575 billion for health-related responses such as HRH, augmentation of DOH hospitals, specialist allowance, actual hazard duty pay, free life insurance, accommodation, transportation, and meals for health workers, and other compensation for public and private health workers. DOLE, 5.1 billion para po sa AKAP at nag-release na rin po ng 500 million para sa funding requirements under the Local Government Support Fund out of a total appropriation of 1.5 billion. Lahat po yan na-release ng DBM today dahil hindi na po dadaan sa Office of the President, delegated na po si Secretary Wendell Avisado to approve the release of these amounts.
Second question po niya, nagkaroon na kaya ng decision ng IATF or si President Rodrigo Duterte regarding the proposed subsidy ng micro and small firms to help them pay the 13-month pay of their workers?
Malinaw na po yan, pinag-aralan, wala pong pagkukunan ng subsidy. So ang ginawa na lang po natin, dahil mandatory naman po talaga ang pagbayad ng 13-month pay, pautangin natin yung kinakailangan mangutang para mabayaran ang 13th month pay. Ang na-identify na natin dyan, ang mga rural banks at saka yung small business corporation na meron pong 10 bilyon. 6 na bilyon po dyan para sa mga tourism-related industries, yung 4 billion para sa mga iba pang mga small and medium enterprises. So, aasistihan po natin ng hindi makabayad dahil talaga namang naghirap tayo dahil sa pandemya. Pautangin po natin sila ng sa ganon, lahat po tayo ay magkaroon ng Merry Christmas. Joseph Morong. Joseph Morong. Okay, kung wala pa si Joseph, si Trisha muna. Trisha Tirada.
Hi, sir.
Yun na pala si Joseph. Yes,
Sorry,
Joseph.
nagka-problema yung signal.
Napuyat
sir,
ka kagabi, no?
lang, no?
Napuyat ka kagabi, no?
Oh, sir. Hindi, pati gumising na maaga. Anyway. Sir,
Yun ang pinakaayaw mo, no? Yung gising sa umaga, no?
No, because we work late at night, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Sir, first, since sa corruption muna, no? Ang sabi ni Presidente is that, okay, he has a campaign promise of solving the corruption in 6 months. And then he said last night na parang, teka muna, mukhang hindi, walang nangyayari at lalong lumalala. So, sir, what made the President say this and what has been done or what has been in the last 4 years of his administration?
Alam mo, sabihin na lang natin na using his own personal standards, hindi satisfied si Pangulo sa paglinis sa gobyerno. At alam nyo, naging congressman naman itong si ating Pangulo, naging mayor din. So pag sinabi niya may corruption sa DPWH, alam po niya ang sinasabi niya. No? It's really a systems problem, no? Na kinakailangan talagang tutukan. Nandyan po yung PhilHealth, no? Na at least administrasyon niya at ito ng mga kabalastugan naman sa PhilHealth, ilang presidente na rin ang dumaan dyan, no? At talagang yung mga sindikato dyan, napakalalim ng kanilang penetration. Ngayon po, isa-isa namang nawawala ng ugat yung mga mafia dyan, no? Yung mga malapit niyang mga kaibigan na merong whiff of corruption, sipa, tanggal, no? At kahit sino pa man sila, no? Tingin ko wala namang kaduda-duda na seryoso ang presidente. So ito po ay, kumbaga, leaving a legacy. At ang legacy niya talaga ay patunayan na kung talaga nang tututukan at gagamitin ng political will, talaga nang pong mababawasan ng korupsyon, bagamat aminado na tayo na hindi tuluyang mawawala ang korupsyon.
Sir, address lang to those who may not, probably believe the sincerity of this campaign. Kasi what can be done in 2 years that was not done in the last 4 years of this administration.
Ikaw naman, Joseph, 5% lang naman sila at kahit anong gawin ng presidente, hindi sila magiging satisfied. Hayaan na natin sila. They're entitled to their own opinion.
Okay. So yun pong sa vaccine, no? Right now, ang fact is, walang cold chain storage facility ang Pilipinas, and it seems that we have to build that infrastructure from the ground up. So how much will that cost the government? Because we need that just in case China is ready to give or to distribute their own vaccine kung sila yung mauna. So how much will that cost the government? And we do not have a cold chain storage facility as of now, correct?
Well, perhaps our guests from the private sector can give us an estimate. And ito naman po ay shared cost ng private sector at ng gobyerno. Sir, can you give us an estimate kung magkano kakailanganin for the cold storage facilities for the entire nation?
So, I mean, if we look at it on a unit basis, let's just talk about a freezer itself by itself. So a freezer that can store, let's say, 40,000 doses at negative 70 degree, for example, that goes for around 10 to 15,000 US dollar per a deep freezer, right? And if we are trying to build a freezer farm, for example, then we're looking at 500 or so freezers of such specification. And how this happens is that this is just the cost of the equipment, and then there's other costs which is for the implementation and maintenance and so on. But I believe the most important part right now is that Philippines should procure the supply of these equipments before they run short, and then the prices will jack up naturally. So that's why I am here and I'm talking about this. So we are ready for this in advance, and not later when the prices, when the supply for these equipments is short, and then we'll have to pay a higher price for it.
Sir, in your own private company, how much are you allotting for acquiring these cold storage facilities, and for how many dosage are you targeting?
So at the moment, we are still in discussions with our partners as to the production capacity and the doses that we are bringing to the Philippines. And naturally, our scale will follow that. So there's no exact dollar or peso value that I have right now, but we're trying to maximize. So we'll be heavily invested in this, but there's no exact figures at the moment. We're still doing the mathematics for this.
Sir, may pera tayo for that?
Yes, pero naman po ang gobyerno.
Sir, konti lang kay Yusek Domingo and then one last for you later.
Okay.
Yusek Domingo, sir, paki-explain lang yung sa process, no, yung cold chain storage facility. So bakit kailangan ng ganon? Para lang malaman ng ating mga kababayan, and he said, dapat ma-procure na bago pa man magkaagawan ulit dun sa equipments, no? Can you explain the procedure? Bakit kailangan malamig yung paglalagyan ng bakuna? At kaya ba natin, sir, itong magawa until before April?
Kasi talaga ang bakuna po napaka-sensitive niya. No? Hindi siya parang gamot na tableta na maaring i-transport basta lamang. Each and every vaccine, depende po kung alin ang bibilihin natin, meron siyang temperature na set kung saan
Bayanihan laban sa COVID-19. Dzxl 558 Radyo Trabaho. Special coverage. Makaiwas makakuha ng virus.